Welcome to this week's Collective Foundation live session. We're excited that you're spending time with us on your lunch hour on Wednesday. Every week we kind of come up with some fresh conversations and powerful insights just to grow, lead, and strive. And today we're looking forward to it. I want to introduce some powerful gentlemen that I'm blessed to be around. I mean, definitely blessed for them to come as well. Pastor Damon Hamby, Pastor Brian Kiko, Wallington. I mean, people don't know that, but I know it. See, that's what I said, I know it. But I mean, last week we had talked about expanding on like faith in the workplace. It was Pastor McCray, Deborah McCray, and Elder McCray spoke about it. And one of the last things we spoke about was maybe expanding on it as well. I reached out, and we reached out to a brother of mine, and like I said before, and here we are today. But I'm gonna let them just tell a little background of themselves, and then we'll go on. Pastor Damon first.
Yeah, Damon Hamby. I was born and raised in Beckley, been here nearly all of my life. I became pastor of Mount Vernon Church, co-pastor along with my brother in 2014, ordained in 2016. But most of all, just want to communicate the good news of the kingdom, to empower and encourage those that we come across. And I just have to say to Brother Don Burton, we are incredibly godly proud of the work you've done and are doing in this community, not only serving the youth and the disadvantaged, but creating jobs in this community. So I'm grateful to be here. Look forward to a lively discussion.
Amen. My name is Brian Kiko Wallington, and like Pastor Hamby said, I'm co-pastor down there with him at Mount Vernon Baptist Church, and glad to be here to help out Minister Burton, because everything that he does it from the heart and does it to give God the glory. So that's why we're here, and hopefully we'll have a great discussion that'll help people out that's watching online.
Amen. I like that. Just to start out, I mean, like I said, when we talk about faith in the workplace, Pastor Damon spoke about that spiritual growth. If you expand a little bit on that, and just talking with us, go around the table and talk.
So I thought for an opening theme, I had this thought: selecting your circle, hiring, firing, recruiting, and releasing. And I thought that we could discuss this in both the context of leadership in the workplace as well as relationships in your personal life. These principles are transferable in every domain in which you deal with other people. Whether you are in a managerial role in a business and you have employees, or if you are a colleague in a business with coworkers, and especially as it pertains to your personal life, just having relationship intelligence to know who are your confidants, who are your cohorts, and who are the people that you need to love at arm's length.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to open up the floor with a thought that comes from John Maxwell. He, in my estimation, is the foremost leadership expert that I have encountered in this life. He was a pastor of a mega church in Ohio before he left the church to become a consultant and business guru. And he's written over 100 books, but there's one in particular I'd just like to highlight. It's called The 21 Laws of Leadership. And this book is for you. Everyone who can hear this conversation, you need to get and read The 21 Laws of Leadership, because it specifies not only how to know who to work with, who to work for, who to have working for you, but also how to manage the relationships in your everyday life. So for example, the primary principle taught in that book is called the law of the lid. So there's 21 laws of leadership. The law of the lid says that the organization cannot outgrow its leader. So whatever the educational level, whatever the expertise, the experience of the leader, that is going to set a cap on the organization. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if a leader ranks as a 7 in terms of his leadership prowess and capability, that means that the organization will never be above a 5 or a 6, because it's always going to be a rung or two below where the leader is, because he's the lid. And that correlates to another one of his laws of leadership, which is the law of the inner circle. And the law of the inner circle says that the leader cannot outgrow his circle. So you see how these two principles work in tandem, because if I'm the leader of my organization and I'm the lid of the organization, but yet I cannot outgrow my team, that is the collection of giftings and abilities and skills among my team, my staff, then we're all going to be limited. Mm-hmm. So this is about focus and purpose and aiming at goals. It's not about personal feelings. It's not about petty disputes or discrepancies. So when you are looking at selecting your circle, it's about what have you been called to do in your life? What direction are you headed in? And you have to partner with people who are like-minded and gifted in the areas at which you are aiming. And again, I can't overemphasize that it's not personal, it's about purpose. Mm-hmm. And this segues into your personal life, because the same is true of you as an individual. The only difference between you and the you 5 years from now is the people you meet and the books you read. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Be not deceived. Evil company corrupts good manners." Yep. So, my partner Kiko's big brother Rick, he always used to say to us, if you hang around 9, you're bound to be a 10th. Mm-hmm. That's right. Because you, another way that I've heard it said is that you are the average of the 5 closest people you hang around. And so I just wanted to kind of get some feedback and perspective from all of you.
So if we was talking to like a group of teenagers, young people, like maybe 15 to 16, 17, how would we, just a little short scenario of how would we keep things from becoming mundane to them so that they would be, that they would have a drive?
First, have an aim is what your life requires. And this will keep you from so much of the negative. Mm-hmm. I often say that purpose is the antidote to addiction. Mm-hmm. People get addicted, whether to substances, whether to alcohol, because when you feel aimless and you don't have a goal, then you will relapse and settle into whatever feels good. Really addiction is just an escape from reality. It's an artificial euphoria that you create. Mm-hmm. So what's your aim and what's your purpose? And then you look at your circle and say, where are they headed? Because I have to assume that I'm on the train they're riding, and me as an individual is not strong enough to stop the inertia of where my group is taking me. Mm-hmm. If everybody on the boat is rowing north and I'm the lonely soul trying to row south, I'm not going to get there. So to young people, and I don't know exactly how you meant by mundane.
Well, boring to them. Things. The young people, they get bored so fast. Mm-hmm. I mean, they bored with their cell phone in less than 10 seconds. Right. They got to keep scrolling. Mm-hmm. So how do we try to keep their focus on something that would be positive to them that they don't think is positive to them at the time?
So what would be an example of something you would want to sow into them that's positive that they might find boring?
Well, I would say, some kind of achievement that they, may get into, whether it be scientific or whether it would be... Because
you're suggesting that you might have an idea of what you think would be good for them, mm-hmm. but they don't see it.
At the time.
They find it irrelevant.
Absolutely.
Or boring.
Yeah. Well, basically, what we're saying, even the platform we're using now, which is Facebook Live.
Right.
Young kids don't get on it. They're not on Facebook. A lot of them aren't. So it's just really just, getting on the other platforms to spread the word of what we're thinking about. Because they don't always hear it a lot of the times, or they just go about, their day and not, really thinking about it. When you say mundane, it's like whatever catches their eye. But what we have to understand is we have to build them up from the foundation to get them to understand that you need, this wisdom that, people are trying to bestow upon you. You might not need it then, but you will here a little later whenever you get into the job world. And that's what we try to do here. And that's why I said and it is tough. Doesn't mean it is tough. I mean, when we have what's called Elevate You, where you talk about life skills and things of that nature, there's been plenty of vacation Bible schools that I've seen, but but in my mind, and I love Vacation Bible School. I used to love it. But in my mind is, why does it have to only be in the month of July and June? And then maybe it didn't. Maybe I'm just saying maybe maybe it didn't though. I'm just saying that. But definitely have something like that, but build it around it. So build around both. Build around the fact of the spirituality and also not the business and life as well. And kind of blending them together to see that, like you said, they do come hand in hand. They do mingle with each other. Very much so. I mean, and that's the thing.
And another thing I think would be positive on that note is if we learn what the young people like. See, we can't get out of reach to where we don't know what they like and what they're talking about. And then once we know what they like, and then we can begin to put it into things that we want to teach them, and that'll keep their attention. Because if you don't get into the things that they like, they'll, like I say, their attention span is very short and it'll fade away. But if we begin to, learn what they like, and then we put that in the things that we're teaching, then it'll keep their attention and focus.
And that's what we call cultural literacy. Paying attention to the culture and being competent in what people are interested in and what drives them. Especially in the church, we have this symptom where we insulate ourselves from what's happening in culture because we're so narrowly focused on the message that we want to get out. But in order to get people's attention, you actually have to maybe approach them through a modem or a medium that is relevant to them. Paul said something that's very poignant in Acts chapter 17 when he stood on Mars Hill. He said to the Greeks who worshiped everything under the sun, he said, I beheld your devotions. And I noticed an inscription on a statue that said to the unknown God that you worship. But the key phrase is, I beheld your devotions. I paid attention to what you're devoted to. And that's why, to a moderate degree, I try to keep myself fairly educated with the rappers that the kids are listening to. Because I might be able to communicate with them through a medium and a name that they're familiar with. So sometimes when we minister in the church, I might name drop, some of the popular artists to try to make a metaphor or an analogy for a principle that I'm trying to teach them. And that goes back to that cultural literacy.
Right. And I think with business, the business sense doing the same sort of thing. I've noticed that, we have a class called Life Ready Skills. So there's life skills, but there's life ready. Are you ready for life? Are you able to be able to definitely advocate for yourself in a school setting or just as in a business setting as well? And a lot of them lack it. A lot of different things like that. And so it's one of those things that we kind of teach them, but it's hands-on. And I think a lot of times a lot of kids, not all kids, but a lot of kids are really hands-on with things. So they don't want to hear a bunch of people talking all the time, right? They want to see, kind of get their hands on and, get in there and do it themselves. And so it kind of works out well.
When I was coming up, you saying the rappers, when I was coming up, the rappers, I'm not making this as a negative thing, though, but the rappers back when I was coming up, they wasn't as educated as the rappers that are now. I mean, what I mean by is that they didn't know business, technology.
Oh, they'll tell you that.
Not back when I was coming up.
Right.
I'm not saying anything negative about that because that's not to bring them down in any way.
But it is great.
But as far as them, not having education or good education, going to school. But that's the way I saw things.
Some of the early rappers became sacrificial martyrs for the later rappers.
Right.
Because the early rappers got hoodwinked and swindled by the record labels because they didn't understand business. And that spawned a generation of people like a Jay-Z and, even a Diddy, because whatever condition he's in now, he was a smart business mind, coming along. But guys like them kind of came up and said, hey, we need to have ownership and we need to understand the business side of things, not just the artistry side of it. And that led to the generation you mentioned now having more business savvy and education to know how to manage their own affairs and to make their money long and not short.
Right.
But I will say the older rappers back in the day, they had educational rappers like KRS-One, Poor Righteous Teachers, and X-Clan.
Conscious rappers.
So they're conscious rappers. That's where the rappers of this era of today are losing focus with how to reach kids to move in a positive direction.
Right.
because you still need somebody to get a hold of them and tell them, you know, this is what you do through an education of who they are or where they would need to go, who they need to be around, things like that. So we're missing out on those type of rappers
today. You
today.
couldn't even imagine a group of rappers today doing a self-destruction song.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, you had like 50 of the top names in hip hop come together and said you're headed for self-destruction. Now you can't get 3 jealous rappers in the same room with each other to collaborate.
Because it's hard to find a positive message nowadays with the rappers nowadays. A positive message for kids.
See, now, well, you know, I was in the time of the. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was in the time. I was in the time of the projects. You know, up in the city. And they had street rappers. I don't think. Well, I think you know, not many of them got famous, but they were street rappers, and they were hardcore. You know what I'm saying? They were gut cutters. You know what I'm saying? And the thing that they would say, we didn't think that it was relevant at the time, but it was relevant that we didn't understand. I mean, we could you know, understand that part. You know, part of them, you know, talking about the police and, you know, different things of that nature. Like that. We didn't see that as being something that could educate us or show us that a better way.
It's another world. It's another world that you don't see. Another world that you feel maybe you know can't get into or whatever, but it's not there. I mean, you have to create it within, like you said before, with the foundations of a strong foundation of basically a good foundation of people, core people that you know need to be, and that's the thing, you know. But you know, and Damon knows this, our pastor knows this, because it's like, you know, with dealing with people, sometimes you deal with. I mean, when you deal with the public, you got to be objective about it. I mean, so while we're subjective, it's still, you know, I mean, it's stuff here that you know that I see. It's not, to me, it's a way to reach them, but it is different. It is different for me too. But it's like you said, it's a cultural thing. It's also a thing of, you know, it could make you uncomfortable if you was around it or whatever. But you have to treat everybody with respect. So it's one of those things as a business owner, you still have to be treated with respect. Now there's rules. Don't get me wrong, but we have to understand that, you know, the core people that we have here, they understand that, you know, and we kind of convey that to them, and then kind of talk to them about these things. If you treat them with respect, but there is a you know point, a stopping point. Right. Sometimes the kid doesn't know that. They don't know where, you know, the stopping point may be because they haven't learned that. You know what I mean? They thinking people joking around, and everybody don't joke the same. Right. You know, and in a business setting, it's very, you know, it can be very inappropriate to say certain things, even though. But you all are joking, so why can't I? You know, it's, you know, maybe you really don't know that. So it's like, so just getting them to understand that and kind of talking to them about that. You're right. I mean, and with the, like you said, with the rappers, you know, I mean, I pray for them because, like you said, they're going to run into what's called a crossroads. Yeah. The business, like you said before, and it keeps on going back. The spiritual, it will blend. And what are you going to do? I mean, I'm trying to go business like, but then again, the stuff I'm talking about is destruction. So
and like even us today, like when we were younger and listened to rap music, we took it as it's just entertainment. But these kids now are actually taking it like this is real. This is real. Yeah, this is like they're really doing it, which the rappers are really not doing that. But where they're listening to it, thinking that they're really doing it, then they go out and do the act of it. Instead of just listening to it, and that becomes dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hip hop was spawned in the spirit of positivity. Like the early rappers had positive messages. Right. You know, starting from the Sugar Hill Gang and even the early New York rappers. You know, like you mentioned KRS-One, and you know, even guys like Rakim, they had kind of a hardcore edge, but it was still kind of a common sense, be wise about your life message. But then as we segue from the 80s to 90s, they found out they could get paid to be trifling.
Right. Right. That's true. The more
and to this day, the more gutter, the more sexually appealing you are for the female rappers, the more trifling you are, the more money comes in. But we really can't blame that on the record labels. That's symptomatic of the human condition. Absolutely. We are much more drawn to negativity and drama. You know, you said in church one time, if we're in this church and a teenager runs in the door and says, "Hey, there's a group of teenagers having prayer meeting on the front lawn. And right behind him, another one comes in and says, hey, there's two kids fighting in the backyard. Which way is everyone going to go?
Yeah.
We're going to go to where the fight is, to where the drama is, not the prayer meeting. And in our culture, what often gets highlighted is the negative. And even the rappers who traffic in that to sell records, they don't really live that way.
Right.
They couldn't possibly, because they wouldn't manage or maintain what they have if they were really doing all the things they rapped about. But they sell our young people a bill of goods and say, if you live this lifestyle, this is the path to freedom and independence and wealth. But actually, it's the path to the cemetery or the penitentiary.
And like you said, even like, you know, still talking about rap music, Rakim, I saw him in an interview. He didn't put cuss words and things in his music a lot because he said he knew his mother would listen to it. See, because they had a conscience of, look, I gotta be respectful of my elders, my parents, because if I do something that's destructive, it's gonna bring a bad name. That's right, there's consequences behind it. You're gonna bring a bad name on your parents. And that's how it is. Nowadays, it's like they don't care who gets hurt, who gets killed, who whatever, as long as they sell records. And that's the bottom line. But we have to, like I say, we have to go back. We're talking about even faith in the workforce. Like James said, faith without works is dead. You can't just talk it, you have to live it. They have to see God in us. A lot of times people will talk, yeah, I'm saved and this and that, and yeah, I believe in God, but they have no fruit. If you're really saved, there's going to be some positive fruit that's going to come from it, and you'll even be effective in your workplace, on the job. You'll be effective when you go out because they'll see the God in you. And that God within you, the Spirit, the Holy Ghost within you, will attract people, and then you can get a message out that's going to lead them in a positive direction.
It is, but you know, and that's one thing, you know. And then there's business, and then there's business, and then you know, but like I said before, it's hard at times. I mean, only because like I said before, you're faced with a lot of different things. I just was mentioning in church before. I had got cursed out. I think it was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, over somebody got yelled at on the trail down there, but it wasn't even at my office. But they were saying it, but they wouldn't hear me out. I was trying to get to the bottom of it, trying to, you know, but I wanted to be, you know, correct and say, you know, kind of talk to him in a way where he can understand. But he was screaming and cursing. And anyway, I said this in the testimony. What happened was, you know, I did listen to him, and I was trying to direct him either to my landlord or me to get down to the bottom of what happened. But after he said that and cursed me out, I hung up. But after I hung up though, then I said something I shouldn't have said, which is, you know, well, I'm up here. Right. But that's the thing, you fight. Yeah. You know what I mean? You fight. You know what I mean? I did say, I wasn't being mean. I ain't no tough guy. I wasn't really going to fight him. But in my mind, you know, and that's what I said, we always fight them. So when you say, you know, being God like it is, and you have to, I mean, you really have to be prayed up in order to come into the workplace, because sometimes it does happen. I mean, things happen a lot. And I'm loud. I don't mean to be, but I am. I'm loud. So something, but I know it's kind of crazy, but it's a different loud, I guess. Yeah, loud, or, you know, just loud. You know what I mean? Or whatever, speaking, but it's something I always got to, I'm not on pins and needles about it, but I always have to watch it, because you're right. Yeah, they are watching. I mean, if your fruit is mean and being mean to people and, you know, just, you know, yelling at people is a bad thing. Yeah. And I've been there.
And that's a perfect paradigm for talking about how to educate children, how to conduct themselves with the proper decorum and professionalism in business, because you have to become disciplined in your own ability to resist temptation and coming out of character, even when you start at the bottom. Yeah. Because once you launch a business and you have influence and you have people looking up to you and you have staff and you have constituents who come and support your business, then the enemy is going to tempt you.
Right.
You know, he's going to press every button, and everything about you will be pressure tested. And so you have to have spent that time with the Lord and been tamed by the Holy Spirit. Because when you become a leader, the enemy is going to throw every jab at you. What the enemy would have loved is a viral video of Don Burton fighting some angry parent outside of Donachie. You know, so he could try to use that to tarnish and smear your reputation and harm your business. And that's something that, you know, we learn to be aware of. And that's something that's blessed me, you know, to keep my cool even under attack and under threat, because, you know, I've faced dire criticism over the years, especially in ministry. And but you understand that when we're serving the greater good, I know the enemy is coming. So I'm vigilant, I'm always on the lookout, and I'm prepared for those tests that he will send to try to, because he can hurt the movement by hurting the man.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, that's what he wants to do. And so, and that's another good example of how we model for the kids to say, hey, this is how you have to conduct yourself, because one viral moment can destroy a movement.
That's right.
You know, if you get caught on camera, just one, like, look at all the celebrity scandals that we see out in the internet, and some people have had their reputations, their businesses just crushed because they got caught out of pocket just being a human being. You know, Kirk Franklin cursed out his son on the phone because the son really pressed his buttons. Now, was he right for doing that? No, absolutely not. But you can relate.
Yeah, you can relate to
You can relate to how he would have been feeling in that moment, but at the same time, you know, God gives us a spirit to rise above even that.
And you said something important. You said as you spend time with the Lord. See, that's what you have to do. If you spend time with the Lord, then you're able to put your flesh under subjection. You're able to, when the flesh, you feel it start to rise up. The more time you spend with God, the more control you'll have over your flesh. It's not to say that sometimes you won't, you know, your flesh gets the best of you, but the majority of the times, if you spend a lot of time with the Lord, praying, reading his word, it's hard for that flesh to come up and get you out of character, out of a godly character, to where people can see it, and then they'll say, okay, that's how he really is, because that's what the devil wants anyway. He wants us to get out of character so people can see it, and then it brings something negative on not just our name, but on the name of Jesus Christ.
And on the organization that you work
the organization,
or the firm that you're working for. It brings you're pushed to the edge. You know, you have to go there. That song, "Don't Push Me." I know y'all might be too young for that.
But it's good.
You push to the edge.
It's good you say that. I mean, even when you were saying about spirituality and work, it's good you say that, because I mean, I was shocked just to see on the internet a couple of times where they've had some stabbings at work. I'm like, how does that happen? I mean, in my mind, I can't even fathom it. I mean, how do two co-workers get into? But so in reverse, they bring in their life to the job.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's like they bring in their life, because who brings it? I mean, this is a little safety knife or something like that, whatever, if that's what it's called. But you know, those things like that, it just, you know, kind of shocks me to hear that. But you're right. I mean, it has to be brung in, and I'm glad you mentioned that. But that's going to, you know, help. I think, you know, too many times we don't speak. That's why I said I'm glad we have a platform where we can speak like that, because it is the truth. I mean, a lot of times, you know, it is, you know, the grace of God who kind of, like I showed you, I spit that out, but I hung the phone up first. But I'm not saying me.
That's right.
I didn't aim. I mean, I did, but that's what I'm saying. But that, you're right. There was a lot of different things, you know, and there was a lot of hot button things that was said that I didn't mention on the phone. But you know, at the end of the day, nobody wins when it comes to that. Nobody wins when there's definitely violence or anything like that. Nobody wins. Definitely. I mean, but like you said, sometimes you're human. That doesn't mean we're gonna. We gotta rise above it.
That's right.
That means we're better, but we definitely we can be better with the spirit that's inside of us. So I mean, that's one of the things that you know we mentioned and like to know. So that's a good thing.
One of the wisdom factors that can help is realizing when a person is angry and violent, if they curse you, they're projecting their self-image onto you. They're speaking to you how they feel about themselves, because they're unhappy, because they're dejected, they don't like where they are in life, so they look for any opportunity to fly hot and to go off on whoever is the convenient collateral target. And when you realize it's not personal, not that that makes it easy to be spoken to that way, but when you realize it's not personal, really it provokes you to pray for them. I pray for this person because they're unhappy, because tomorrow I'm back to my life and I'm doing positive things. This person is going to live in that misery until they repent of it and come out of it. So
I think, you know, I said it even when I was in church. I said the same thing. I think what upset me though was the fact of, you know, I don't know what y'all doing up here, but that to me, I was like, because it wasn't a knock on me. I wasn't really did not that, but the people that do work, we do work here. What do you mean? I mean, we try to help. I mean, that's what we do. And I think it was more than that. But I
You're
think
held accountable for some random person.
But I think what they said to him, it really hurt him, and then that's one thing we have to watch our mouths. I mean, I spoke about it in the church. We have to watch our mouths. I mean, people don't think that, or they think, I can say what I want to say. Well, you can't. I mean, you can if you want to, but you really can't. I mean, that's not because we can hurt people. Well, apparently, he was upset by something they said to him,
Right.
and that was the thing. So how hurtful was it? And then got into with me or whatever. But
and children can never unhear what they heard.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I think that's so. It's
It
good that
stays with them for a long
it's good to have
time.
the So to me, it's good to have like dialect like this, to sit down and talk a lot about it, and some dialogue to help. Help people understand that you can talk. We're all from different backgrounds.
That's right.
I mean, all of us are. That's the thing. We come together as businessmen, but they also come together as men and the men of God. So that's a lot of it as well. And they have to see that. They have to see that as well. Nobody's arguing, and we've known each other for a long time. And that's the thing, But to see you two, where you've been, it's to look up to that. As far as the route you chose, the route of God, you chose. And makes you think, well, shoot, it's achievable for me
It's a
too.
better way.
It's achievable for me too. You know what I'm saying? So you just never know that. Really, it isn't. I'm sure you don't hold yourselves up on the pedestal. I know that. Very humble. Ellen McCrae as well. Very humble. So to have, but to have, just to have around the table to sit there talking, and Chad too, brother Chad too, just to sit around and talk. It's more powerful than people may think. And it's good for a child to get around too as well and do exactly the same thing. But sometimes, like you said, for egos and different things go on. But like I said before, let's get the foundation built up to where they can see that we can come together and do this, and then.
And that's what gives me hope for the up and coming generation, because I see myself in them. Every time I read about some young person who did something terrible, they committed a crime, I always say that could have been me. Because I was in that thread, I was in that mentality. And so if I can look back and see what God did in me over the course of my life, then I have hope that he can do it for anybody else.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And echoing back, something you said really stood out to me when you talked about how do we keep young people engaged so they don't get bored and so they aim at better goals. And two quick things to that. First, when we talk about, what does the youth need and how can we reach the youth, I think often we approach it corporately more than personally. We try to imagine a scenario where we can get 100 kids together and give them, some kind of inspiration and talk to where they're all going to be, motivated to do better. But actually it starts on the personal, individual level. So I want to see what I can sow into each young person that I encounter in my everyday life. From my sons and my daughter to the kids they play ball with that I see, when we pick them up, drop them off for practice. Because it's really just starting at that personal level that gives you the practice of being able to find out what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes I think we overlook that because we probably, pass by 50 kids a day coming and going, but we got it stuck in our head that we got to rent a building and have an event and do like a crusade for the youth, which is fine. But are you doing it in your everyday life? Because one thing that I'm ambitious for in a godly way, I want to find the one who can change the world. Because when God wanted to free his people from Egypt, he went to one man, Moses. When he wanted to deliver Israel from the Midianites, he went to one man, Gideon. When he wanted to launch the first monarchy in the kingdom, he went to one man, David. So God said, if I can just find that one man,
one person
that I can use. So my inspiration is, if I can speak to this one young person, he might grow up and win 50 million more souls than I ever could. So that's what gives me pause to say, well, let me just be good to this kid right here that's in front of me, because I may not be able to reach all the ones in my community or in my neighborhood. And with that, just second thing specifically, the way to reach young people is to love them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's right.
There is nothing, especially the kids who are the most troubled, the ones who don't have a father at home, don't have a man in the house, they have violent tendencies, they got bad attitudes. The reason that they have this screw the world mentality is because they don't think the world cares about them. So if the world doesn't care about me, I don't care about the world. And they become agents of chaos because the enemy can work with that. But what they want more than anything, especially boys, they want a man to pay some attention to them and just love them. And you don't have to know all the right things or all the right quotes. You just have to be there, be a listening ear, because that's what they're hungry for. And just last thing, and I'll give it to somebody else. One of the reasons that the boys join gangs in the inner cities is because they're looking for what they never got at home. If they had a father at home, what does a father provide in tandem with mom? The father provides discipline, he provides structure, he provides correction, he models strength and excellence and manhood. Well, if he didn't get that growing up, the gang is the next best thing. Because what does the gang give you? Structure. They have a regiment and a hierarchy. They give you authority. They tell you where you can go, when you can go, who you can hang with, who you can't. So, and same reason why girls get into prostitution and they let pimps basically become their surrogate fathers is because the pimp tells you what to do, and everybody is really longing for some kind of structure and discipline, even though they don't think they are. So I think that reaching the young people really, before we even think about, launching an event, is just what am I doing with every young person I cross paths with on the daily? Sow something positive into them. I can remember encouraging things that men said to me growing up that I might have only seen once in a blue moon. Yeah. But every time I saw them, they had something positive to say, and those thoughts and those words echo back now, and they help me.
Yeah, I like that.
And me, the last thing that I'll say is, whenever we want a child to do good, my advice is for the parents to be parents. Parents, be good parents to your children, because that's the first line of defense. That's the first place that they're going to be, because we can help kids, but if your child is in your home, you're more influence over them than we are. But we are here to, help children, to get them to, go in the right direction. But if we spend 3 and 4 hours with them a day and they go home into 10, 11 hours of chaos and hell, then it's hard to get past that.
Yeah, right.
So parents really need to, just make sure that you're trying your best to love your child and lead them in the right direction. Right. If not, then we are here to help out. And, help out any way that we can.
And another thing I see too, another structure that I see, like this father figure that you have, which is so wonderful. And just imagine if you had a bad night, bad day, and you taking your child, your kids to school, and you grabbing them and you yanking them. You know what I'm saying? And you grabbing them abruptly and you yanking them. You come on, let's go. People looking at that, they see that. They say, man, why is this guy? This father. He said he's pastor, and he pulling his daughter. He pulling his daughter in such a God bless you.
Go back to work.
Okay. And he pulling his daughter, in a negative way. People see that. So like you saying, and God, you a great example as a father. And so is Don as well, because it makes it hard to see. A father. I'm gonna give a quick example, and I'm gonna get out of the way. That movie, In the Pursuit of Happiness. When the father grabbed the child, he didn't really mean to grab him that hard, but when he grabbed the child, he lost his little doll. He didn't see that back there. He didn't see the doll back there that the baby had lost. He was just trying to get him into a safe place because they had little time to get into the shelter. So, but we don't see these things. Other people see them. We don't see the father dragging the child because he's late for work or whatever. We just see the negative, but we don't see the love that he actually truly has for this child. That's what makes it so difficult in time. So when Don had that situation, Don is a mild-mannered man. I've never really seen him, get upset or angry. Nah, maybe one time. But that look that people is looking at us. You know what I'm saying? We can see that.
And we live in a world where bad news travels around the world before good news can even tie its shoes. Because something like that, just referencing that testimony that you had, they wouldn't show all of the good you do on a daily basis for the past 10 years. You know, what you're going to see is that one sound bite of 30 seconds of when you lost your temper and said the wrong thing. And then the entire world maligns you and judges you based on that instant. And that's why I thank God, you know, our salvation is in the hands of a merciful God who is forgiving and loving, because the world is not.
And you're right, and that's what I said. I mean, and it must. I mean, like I said before, it's a test, or to see where you are. But I get it, and I mean, of course, I got work to do. It's just that, and that's the thing. I mean, just because you definitely passionate about something, but you still have to keep your cool in certain senses, and definitely have the right direction. But being helpful is one thing, but being talked about is another. But we still have to be able to keep our cool. But it's a good example that we all need work to do for youth, adults as well. Have the work to do in order to reach your goal. But one thing is we have to be respectful. You're exactly right. We have to be respectful, and that's what sometimes in business where you kind of see some disrespect that you know what I mean, and with different people, and that's something you have to stop in a workplace, regardless of fact. You know what I mean, a lot of people don't get that, but they do. I have to do that.
And the higher your title, the heavier your words. I've learned that as a pastor in a church, my words might weigh 100 pounds, whereas one of the members' words weighs 2 pounds.
Right, of course, you're right.
Sometimes if someone needs a mild correction or adjustment, I'll send one of my people and I say, will you just mention to that person? Not that I would avoid the confrontation, but I've just found that I can crush people more than someone else just because of the title that I carry. Not that I would mean to. I always want to try to be delicate and respectful, but sometimes, when a person has to be told that either something they did or said was inappropriate or wrong, they take it the wrong way. If it comes from the top down, it feels like a barbell being dropped on them.
You're right.
Whereas another fellow member could mention the same thing and they don't think none of it. They're like, oh, you think so? I did that? Okay, yeah, maybe I went too far or something like that. So yeah, and that's why the enemy especially wants to get leaders in scandal and in hostility, because that's going to travel a lot farther than someone who may not be as influential.
Mercy.
No, you're right. I mean, I think you're right. I think that's why, we, like I said before, we definitely have platforms to speak about things like this and learn. It's a lot of different things, you can learn from these things. It's been a lot of people here coming and sat down, taking their time out of their day, doing the lunch hour. But, sometimes it takes you to be a little different in order for to get our word across to, others to learn about these things as well.
Something I've learned about Satan is that once he discovers he can't get a reaction from you, he switches tactics. As long as pressing that button gets you riled, he'll keep pressing that button. But once you can shrug it off, then he'll stop using that particular attack. He may switch tactics, he'll never stop. But at the same time, that's how you conquer, each temptation from season to season.
Well, I think you don't want to see the manager or the pastor of the church or the executive director of a company have to go to anger management.
No, you're right. No,
you don't want to see that.
Exactly right.
But we're in that age now, because everybody got cameras and you can look what I seen. I saw him do this, So we don't want to get into nothing like that.
It's funny you say that, because it's like even here, and it's nothing about me, but I'm just telling you, sometimes you have different leaders, right? Like I have an office, right? But I'm rarely in it. I'm out there where they at. Well, ain't nobody in there, ain't nobody in my office or nothing like that. And the work, it could be in there, but it still feels separate to me. Instead of just coming out, and getting in it with everybody, and as far as helping out. And then, you see that. A lot of times, but some leaders are different. That's just the way it is. Some of them are different. I always, pray to be a better leader, be a better father, be a better follower. All the time, because I have to, because I don't know everything, and I know I don't. And it's a lot of mistakes I've made as far as with business. and to talk about them as well. It's a young gentleman that works for me now, and he wants to be an entrepreneur. So we talk. We talk about the good. Sometimes we talk about the bad. It's just, but it's something that needs to be talked about because that's what it is, And I like a lot of it is like, getting in here and just getting some people around you that really, that really have the same kind of mission to help others. And I tell them all the time that, you have to that's what we do here. We're in the help business. That's what we do. I understand money sometimes. Not the Summit, of course, is a nonprofit, but some of the other, businesses are not. They're for profit, but same thing. You still can have the same, definitely the same system as far as helping others and respecting them. And like me and you spoke before, before we came in here, business that I'm into now. We're transporting people to the job. To the medical appointments. That's real. That's nothing. That's a real life thing. And so no matter how bad your life is, someone could be going through worse, but they still just struggling along, trying to, get through it. So that's a good thing as well. And then business is not always roses. You know that.
No,
that's the thing.
And the benefit is that you heal yourself by healing others.
Right.
When you see that you're providing a useful service that's meaningful to someone else, it kind of heals your soul and gives you a deeper sense of purpose or drive. Sometimes you wonder if your work is in vain. You grind every day and you grind every day and you say, is this making any difference? But then you'll have those bright moments where you'll get positive feedback or you'll see how you impacted somebody and bless them. And when you get that feedback and testimony, you treasure that because it's like, I know that what I'm doing is not in vain.
Well, you're right. No,
I wanted to ask you guys something because in the spirit of, because you talked about just now, like when you're an entrepreneur or leader, you have to recruit people and you have to be able to work with people. So there's a management principle I heard years ago that I adopted, but I wanted to see what you all think about it. The principle is hire slowly and fire quickly.
Hire slowly and fire quickly.
That goes for dating and marriage as well. Well, not marriage. You don't fire quickly in marriage. But, the idea being that you want to be prudent on the front end, making sure that you do everything possible to vet your potential candidates and get the right person. You're never going to get it 100% right.
Absolutely.
But then at what point do you discern, we have a mismatch here. This person is not compatible with the description, the job, the mission. Doesn't have to be about them being an unkind or bad character. They may just be out of their depth.
Well, I would say, I wouldn't want to fire. I would want to, if I took the time to hire this individual, it may be some negative things going on at the time. I really wouldn't want to fire.
You want to try to coach.
I want to try to, see if it be all possible to see how can we get around not firing you, not letting you go. What can we change? Is it something in the job or is it something that you see or? Because you may have an ideal. I don't know.
What would be the number one quality you would look for in them to make you want to give them more time and more of a chance? What's the number one thing you would, when they show up every day, if you at least bring this with you, then I'll work with you?
I would say it's kind of ironic, but I would say family. I would be thinking more about the person's family than I would actually be thinking about,
You mean as far as needing a salary to provide for the family?
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? I would be thinking about the family of the person and not trying to see where we can fire you, but what is it that's going on in this position that you are dealing with that's causing you to have such a negative atmosphere, as far as me trying to, saying I have to let you go. Some
of the, Pastor Damon knows this. It was, and I don't. That's why I struggle with it a lot as well. I do struggle with it. But having that, it sounds good, and it should. That's how it should be. Only because of what I learned in the class that we took a long time ago. In the organizational leadership, it talked about people maybe not they want to be fired, but they're not gonna fire themselves. So they hang around, but then they're so relieved when you do.
Yes.
When you do say let them go. I know it sounds crazy. You're so relieved. I mean, I can't think of the actual term now. It's been a while since I took it, but it was just something, and it makes sense to me now. A lot of things that I learned there, make sense as well. One of the things is, I mean,
and there could be different reasons. So on one leg, you could have somebody who's just not putting forth the effort. They basically want a free ride, and they don't intend to work hard. On the other hand, which is more convoluted, what about the person who really wants to do well, but it becomes apparent that they're out of their depth? They just don't have the skill and the competence to do the job at the level the organization requires in order to be efficient and effective. So at what point do you do the merciful, release?
You're right. I mean, and that's it. You're exactly right.
I've always taken the approach. I like to hire slowly, because I really, in past experiences working, for-profit businesses where it's all bottom line, it's a whole lot more costly to hire someone and train them and then lose them. If you're in, and it could be they might be your best employee. It could be good reasons that they want to go. But if before I hire them and invest the time and money into training them, that I want to make sure that's someone that can contribute and that they control the controllables. So I'm looking for effort. I'm looking for attitude. If they bring that every day, they'll be on time. They'll take direction, and maybe I didn't hire them for the right job, and that was on me. But I see a skill in them that I can shift them over here. So that's I like to hire slowly. Philosophy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because me, myself, personally, I would never, I'm the type of person, I would never not want to be a friend. Never. I would never not want to be the person that would not want to be a friend. I would do the best I could to, I know Don said, he said the person trying to make himself get fired. That would be on them. That wouldn't be on me. You know what I'm saying? And I would be like wondering, why are these things happening? How come you was coming to work on time, and you was doing a great job, but what's changed? You know what I'm saying, in the job that causing you to want me? Some people, how people say they want the police to kill them. I don't want nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be in no scenario, nothing like that. I would want to be able to see if I could be of help to the person. You know what I'm saying? To the individual, whatever.
And I guess I'm thinking more about those really tough cases where what happens when your desire to be a blessing and be a friend compromises your business judgment. And I say that because I've run the gamut on all of these processes. I've been the guy who held on to the wrong person way too long because I wanted to be, a blessing to you. I wanted to be a friend. I know you needed this job, but it ended up hurting the business, more in the long run. Whereas, like Don said, if I had just released them more quickly, they would have gotten over it and went on with their life and found something else. And so, you never want to do it in a spirit of pettiness, or harsh judgment. But at the same time, the business exists, whether profit or nonprofit, to accomplish an objective. And if everyone's not on board rowing that boat in the same direction, then you have to make tough decisions. And sometimes as a business leader, you have to be dispassionate in how you handle your human resources and natural resources to make sure that the business is still getting done. Because I'm sure if you went through McDonald's drive-thru and you ordered, a number 6, and then you're sitting there in the drive-thru waiting for 30 minutes for your number 6. And it's because the cashier working the drive-thru had a terrible night, had a fight with her boyfriend, she's disoriented, she's in a bad state of mind, so, she's not doing a good job. And then okay, that happens one day, okay. What happens when she does it every day? And then eventually people stop coming through the McDonald's drive-thru. And at what point do you say, well, sweetheart, I really feel for you. You're in a tough relationship and you can't focus, but do our customers care about you the way that I do?
No, I don't think they do.
They want fast burgers and
So you have to make that tough decision. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
But I don't think I'll be getting in your position anytime soon, Mr. Burton. So,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is tough, but I mean, like I said, it's rewarding.
those are
If
tough.
the outside, you know, what I mean, if you want to help though, you have to understand that as well.
Absolutely.
And just make sure you drive home the fact of that and continue to do that as well.
Because sometimes being merciful to your employee is being unmerciful to your customers or
Exactly.
clients or consumers. Because you're allowing one person. I heard this other leadership mantra that I've kind of adopted, which is that nothing hurts a good employee like watching you tolerate a bad one. If you've got a person who brings a toxic spirit into the atmosphere that demoralizes the rest of the team, now you're at risk of losing 5, 6, 7 good people because they can't co-harmonize with this one person who just won't get in the team spirit.
Of course, you're exactly right.
And these are all, just the trials and tribulations of leadership.
And that's it. Well, this is gonna end the session. I wish we could go on. We probably could go on for hours. I mean, I thank you, Pastor Damon, definitely Pastor Kiko. You listened left, but I really appreciate you all being here. Elder McCray, Chad, I really appreciate you being here. It's been an inspiration, really, just to see, what you've accomplished, really. Lastly, I would want to say, just the model that you all have, not business wise, but definitely within the church is one that I really look up to. Just because it's the sharing of something that sometimes you feel like it's only one, but power's in two as well. And I think that's a big inspiration to me, just to see and others of it. I would say to see that no one wants the spotlight at all times. And that's the thing. Only one spotlight, and that's God. He has the spotlight, and that's God. So I appreciate you all. Like I said before, if anything I could ever do, let me know. And like I said before, I'm looking forward for that goal for the community center that was going to be built. And I know it's going to rise, and that's right. Any way I can help. So I thank you all.
Likewise, we thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good to meet you.
God bless you, sir.
Good to talk.